Hello, everybody. It's me, Fab from Long Island. I'm here with my boy Ed tonight. We're gonna be talking Little Moon. Eddie, how you doing tonight, brother?
I'm excited, man. It's
Yeah, this,
one of my favorite heroes growing up. I'm excited.
yeah, this is one of those, a little obscure for some people who like Marvel, but I think it was a choice. I love actor that they got so far. So let's jump right into it, right? So this episode, hold on one second. Let me get the fuck out of this. This episode for Marvel, their first episode, is called The Goldfish Problem, I believe. So
Yeah.
obviously that's a play on like the goldfish that he has that he's talking to, and it's a funny. They always like to put little bullshit like Marvel shows, but he changes later on, kind of show time jump, or at least he did thing while he was asleep. But what was your first impression? I guess what was your actual like anticipation for the show?
Um, First, I think everyone should know that like Moon Knight started out as like a peripheral character. He wasn't supposed to be like a main character, and when I heard they were doing his own show, like it just bugged me out. I couldn't wait. The episode itself, what I liked about it was that they they took bits and pieces of the evolution of Moon Knight. Like he for instance, when he started, there was nothing magical about him. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
He
yeah,
was just a dude in a suit. He was a mercenary. And then they added the mystical element to it. And then they added the fact that he was filthy rich. You know, he was like Marvel's answer to Batman. So that
yeah,
made it
yeah,
even
yeah.
more like exciting. You know
That's
what I mean?
more the this what is it? Richard Grant or Stephen Grant? That's
That's more the Mark Spector character is the mercenary. He's the guy
yeah,
that
yeah. But who's
made
the
the
rich guy?
investments.
I thought
Spectre.
the Spectre's the
Well,
rich guy too. I know.
Stephen Grant is like that's another thing that was kind of one of those things that they developed into the show. Like I enjoy the fact that each character doesn't know the other character.
Yeah,
You know
yeah.
that whereas in the comic book they all know each other. They're all aware of each other. They can swap out depending on the situation.
All right, so that's
Uh,
probably definitely in the near future. We'll see as the episodes
yeah,
go on because you kind of see that towards the end of the episode, you finally have to like address each other. Mark can't the Mark
right.
persona, which I believe, right from what you're saying, and I think the things that I've read, Mark's persona is actually his real
The
persona,
main persona,
her
right?
persona, right? And Steve, I think is it Steve Grant? That's his name in the
Steve
show.
Grant, and then there's Jake something, and then
Yeah, I'm
there's
not
some
sure
other.
they're gonna do those other ones. That's what I find interesting. I think it's more of it might just be the two of them, and then with Conchu's like other personality voice coming in all the time. So it's like maybe
Right.
not to confuse it too much with too many personalities. You know what I mean? That's what I think they're
Yeah.
gonna do. But
Yeah,
on the episode itself, right? So we kind of start, and what's your interpretation of Ethan Hawke's character? Because I heard he's not too big a character. I think they're making him
no,
like a bigger
no,
character in the show.
super small character in the comics. He's not another like a mystic. He doesn't have a cult. He's a scientist, like a doctor who he does experiments because he's got paralysis, like facial paralysis. Parts of his body are paralyzed. So
Yeah,
he
yeah,
does these experiments just to try to, make himself better. But I love the angle that they threw his character, kind of like that. He made mention of the goddess that he follows being
yeah,
tricked by these other gods and being banished and shit like that. And of course, they're going to throw in the fact that Khonshu was one of those gods,
yeah,
and
yeah. Definitely,
it
I
just
think it's a
builds
great
up that
tie-in.
anticipation. Yeah,
Hell yeah, hell
absolutely.
yeah. I like the whole scene to kind of establish him right away. Like he's dealing with mystical powers, and he ends up killing that woman in front of everybody, and that was
Yeah.
pretty interesting. And I mean, how do you feel being that you read the comic, like the vibe of the Steven character?
It's fucked up. It wasn't as a fan. Like I'm just absorbing everything, but then you
Yeah,
feel
yeah,
bad for the guy. Of course, he's like, he's not operating at the same level as everybody else, but like they're treating him like he's like afterbirth, like he's nothing.
yeah,
Like
yeah. But
he's
that's
the
kind of like
idiot.
Yeah, exactly. The like the Peter Parker is always getting shit on, you know. He's like the
Yeah,
superhero's a moron. But I did like how like every time it was about to go down and they needed to switch, it was like immediate. You didn't necessarily catch any of that. Maybe they'll show us in another episode later, like those scenes. Like sometimes they'll do that in a movie. You know, you'll skip a whole part, but then you'll go back and show what the incident see. So maybe that will happen. But like you're gonna get points where like it's this episode was Steve's episode, maybe that will be about Mark or whatever, and then it'll keep going on and on like that. But I thought Steven was a pretty interesting character, though. You know, you just feel bad.
But I think that was by design. Really, in the comic, he's not that guy. He's not like he doesn't have a deficit. Like he's not mentally delayed or anything like that. Like just like any other person with a split personality, they create these characters to protect them in certain situations, right? So, you know, their depiction of it is that he's the innocent. So when Mark needs to hide, or you know, when he needs to slip into a place where he's got, you know, no one has any reason to believe that he's a threat in any way.
And he really doesn't try to be, honestly, especially in this episode. You know, he's like, I'm a gift shop guy, you know.
I mean, and he didn't know better. He just doesn't. He didn't know what was going on. I think, and that's genius. Because
tell me that part when he found out to the restaurant and was like, wait a minute, it's Sunday. Like fucked himself. He couldn't get to go on that date.
Like the dude just broke down. He broke down and cried, and I felt them. I was like, wow, man. Like you can't help but to force yourself into that situation.
Yeah.
Right. He says that he's waking up every morning feeling like he's gotten run over by a bus.
Yeah, and you know, really interesting. Of course he is. He's running a second life, and he doesn't know his body feels it. But you know, I want to mention this is pretty funny. So I watched it for a second time with my nephew and girl yesterday, and I had to say, like, for an 8-9-year-old kid, there were a couple of parts, man, where he got, you know, the part we seen in the trailer where he got a little scared, because when we saw in the trailer when Conchu's like coming through in the hallway, like running in the elevator and shit like that, like my nephew was like generally scared, like he ran out the room. I was like, damn, all right, I like that. I like Marvel going a little scared, you know, especially for this show. You know, how did you feel about the end? Let's get it, because I feel like I could have seen a little more. What they showed you was basically what you got in the trailer, right? You don't even get like the time with Moon Knight. As soon as he turns in Knight, you see a punch in the guy, which is what you saw in the trailer. Walk to the screen, and that was the end of this. So it's like I wish we got a little more, but yeah, they'll definitely show us more the second episode, obviously. But
like I feel like they give you enough, of course, to jump into the next episode, but the scary parts, the fact that you see this guy as an absolute ass kicker, where like a supernatural animal is running away from him to keep from getting an ass whipping. You know what I mean? Like it's all building up to, and I know this the same way that we knew that the Avengers movies were building up to Secret Wars, and like that's going to be the next big, like, just sheet of movies. This is building up to Midnight Suns. It's got to.
I hope so.
Talking about all the dark dwelling superheroes of Marvel. You got Ghost Rider, Hannibal King, Blade, and Blade was in Eternal. So it's shaping up. Like, I'm more excited about that because it's a more visceral part of Marvel. And up until now, it's all been like, you know,
the main core, the main Avengers, and a few
PG. It's been PG, basically.
Well, come on, remember, it is Disney, my man.
It is, but
you know,
and this is big for Disney because they have to cater to the older crowd. You cannot leave any angle, any corner of Marvel uncovered because you bought them all. You might as well use them all now.
Yeah, honestly, thank God they have everything so they can do it correctly. But all right, so overall, what was your anticipation level and what was your satisfaction level, 1 out of 10?
I was extremely ready for this show. Like I said, growing up, I love this character. He was always like the guy that came into the side and kicked ass. And
it was a great
fact that he was a real dude. Like there are no split personalities in the Marvel universe outside of Professor X's kid, who
Oh yeah,
every
Legion.
personality every
Not that.
personality has a different power, and like that shit that's genius. But to add that dimension to this guy, like they haven't even touched the fact that Mark Spector's filthy rich. Like and this guy's living like a pauper in London and shit. So there's so many intricacies of the character that are going to pop up. Mr. Knight is like
Yeah, I'm
he's like that.
interested to see what Mr. Knight's about. You know, is
He's
he a
like
different
that.
personality or is he smart?
Yeah, like he's they're all like genius level characters, but this guy's more like the underworld. Like he sneaks into the underworld and kicks gangsters' asses
Yeah.
for
Well, it is an
giggles.
awesome costume, man. I can mad
It is
people
the suit. Yeah,
fucking
it's
with
real
that
cool.
shit during Halloween. Not a lot.
But
So what's
altogether,
your
like
left?
my satisfaction level, I loved it. I loved it. I can't wait for the
You
other
go as
episodes.
far as saying 10 out of 10?
Dude, as far as
You biased.
as far well, no, because I love all things Marvel, but as far as the shows that Disney's putting out, this one could kill them all. This could be the one that blows them all out of the water. Even WandaVision, I thought that was great.
I still think WandaVision, and I know some people are not into Loki, but I think Loki's probably like
That
when
one was
it
great.
goes to like really going out there. I think Loki was, and WandaVision is not necessarily like that one's kind of like groundbreaking. That idea for that show, the way they did it, all that stuff. But I like Moon Knight a lot. I like the darker trip, honestly. I like the actor. I think he's playing a great character, and he's going to play multiple characters, and he's really talented. I'm the abomination that was the X-Men Apocalypse movie. I'm happy we can leave that for him. But like I thought, for me, I was pretty hyped on it. When I heard about Moon Knight, I was like, man, that was like 9 out of 10. I love all things Marvel, but it's like this one seemed like it was really, they could make it really cool. And honestly, I give it a 9 out of 10. You know, I don't think anything was like funny that they lose mad points on for like just for me. I thought the length of the episode was good. The pacing of it was good. The actors that they picked, definitely Ethan Hawke, which is interesting because he was trashing on Marvel movies and comic book movies, but the character that he decided to take, he's fucking awesome as it. And I hope, like, you know, as the season goes on, he's going to be dope.
I am the harshest critic when it comes to superhero movies and how close they are to the comic books. And there were things that, like, for instance, Steven's not English, so the accent was something that Oscar Isaac just came up with.
Yeah.
The suit materializing, that was one like short aspect of how Moon Knight did his transfer from human to Moon Knight, but it didn't stick throughout his history. You know what I'm saying? So this is like a small thing, but I love taking bits and pieces of the most interesting parts of his entire history and making it real. So like all the little things, the nuances that the comics just didn't have, or I'm willing to forgive all of that because it was that good.
I thought it was great though, so I would agree. You know, again, I can't wait for next week. I honestly thought maybe they were going to drop 2 episodes, but I guess they don't care about overlapping with the next show coming, which is.
Well, I think they're going to drag it out because I honestly don't think that it's going to be like they say it's going to be a limited run. They may not do a season 2. They might just go straight to the movies,
like that. Yeah, but yeah, I mean it's only 6 episodes, so it actually will touch Obi-Wan. I think Obi-Wan's at the month in May. But I thought it was dope. I thought most of the parts were all entertaining. And it felt like the 45 minutes flew past. And I can't wait until next week. I thought it was finally getting really good. There were a couple of parts where my wife laughed, where she was like, oh shit, everybody, as soon as he turns around, they're like, we're with him too. You know? I don't know if you remember when he was actually like running away. And the one part was a little goofy. I gotta tell you, when I watched it the second time, this was the only part that probably I was like, all right. So he like runs away from Harrow as soon as he talks to him about, oh, there's chaos in you, right? He runs in the thing. The next scene, he's like, beep, beep, like he's just back to work. It's nothing, you know? Like as if the guy wasn't still in the museum. You know what I mean? Like it's inventory time. You know, that was the one thing I was like, all right, you know. Like, wasn't this guy like terrified 2 seconds? Oh,
no, I know, but his character is intense, so I feel like they have to mix in those moments to like break the tension
yeah. But I also
and
feel like the payoff of the girl, because again, watch it a second time, you pick up all those stupid little things. But she kept like threatening him with inventory. Like that was the threat. I'm gonna put you on inventory tonight.
yeah.
Like, all right. So like, but I thought it was awesome. I hoped I was gonna get a little more of like him fighting. Have you heard of Werewolf by Night? Have you heard of this thing? Because
Jack Russell. That was his first appearance in comic books. So he was hired by an organization to stop Jack, the Werewolf by Night. His name is Jack Russell, ironically enough. And that was when he was more, his first appearance. That's when he's more like a human character. They hadn't even mentioned Khonshu. They hadn't, he wasn't yet what they call the fist of Khonshu. He was just Mark Spector mercenary.
Well, I guess they're going with like the Avatar. That's they're calling him the Avatar.
Right. Yeah. And apparently they made it sound like all of the gods have one, which is also an interesting twist. That's going to be a good development. But there's a lot to tell. There's a lot to tell about this dude. Like, for instance, how he became Moon Knight in the mystical sense, like how the Bushmen beat him to death.
Oh, beat him to death, and he's like left in the middle of Egypt. I think that's coming, honestly, because we see shit like that. We seen shit like that in previews. Just do this. Go back and look. Honestly, I have this little fuzz flying in my fucking face. If you go back and look at the actual like trailer now, it really gives you the feeling like, there's a lot of the show we have not seen yet, obviously. But it's like sometimes I get worried. I'm like, you see a trailer. Most of the episode 1 is going to be like heavy in the trailer. This one felt like it wasn't really like that. Besides a couple of parts where he goes into the spot in the room, and then him on the bed, and like the bus scene. But other than that, and then the final beatdown scene, which was like the first thing you see as Moon Knight. So I think it's dope, man. I think it's a good show so far. That's why I give it a 9 out of 10.
I have to give it, for me, it's a 10 out of 10 because I know what's coming. You know what I mean? You know when it's a historical movie or something like that, even the Marvel movies, you wait for the twist that you're not going to like. And that whole episode, I waited for it. There were some things that didn't jive as far as the comic book went. See, now they have to get creative, because in 6 episodes, you're going to tell a story, but then you expect to make a movie. And are you going to tell that part of the story again? Or are you going to expect that people saw the show and kind of pick up with the movie? It's like Blade. Like Blade has an entire history. Where are you going to pick up with that guy? Or, they kind of...
I think Blade's going to be in his own movie. They've seen enough from Blade in the past that he's not a Disney Plus kind of guy. He's a big box office draw.
Yeah, but do you have to tell the story again?
You would
Peter
have
Parker. They did this whole the whole multiverse thing. Doctor Strange, Mitch, everybody forget. So now you get to start fresh with the Peter Parker Spider-Man character in the MCU.
You don't have to deal with any of the bullshit that just happened, which is great.
Exactly.
It's like there's a lot of connectivity in all these shows and movies, but this is a reset for Peter because he completed his trilogy or whatever, and now you can kind of continue on. But I think with what Marvel's got going, Moon Knight, I think you're definitely going to see him in something other. I read something that they didn't give Oscar Isaac a multi-picture deal contract. So that's not like what it was. It looks like it's just, oh, look, what Gio's saying, Disney's Plus, they're getting more mature now because on the uploaded, they wanted the parental code. Yeah, my shit too. My shit too, man. And honestly, it's better that way because I'd rather the more mature content, which means Deadpool eventually will be on there. You know what I mean? I like that. Put Deadpool with the Marvel shit. He's Marvel. It'd be better, honestly. But
honestly, Disney, if Disney's gonna make the Marvel money, they have to allow some of the shit to happen. Like in my mind, Wolverine cannot be a character that doesn't kill people and splatter blood and guts all over the place.
It might give Wolverine a chance in a show first. That's what I think they do. You give Wolverine a nice patch of time where it's just him. You flush out a new actor. Maybe, hopefully, a couple of storylines that are a little bit different. But you know how Wolverine story, it's always got to kind of be the same. And then incorporate him in the X-Men. And on top of that, I love this shit. Wolverine used to be in the Avengers. You know what I mean? So there's a couple of times where Wolverine's with the Avengers. That could be something for the future, 5, 6, 7 Avengers, whatever the fuck they get to. But to me, I think it was dope. I like the show. I like where they're going. I think it was awesome. I can't wait for next week. Honestly, Marvel's always hitting on all cylinders, bro. I don't think they're ever honestly putting out anything bad. My exception, the only thing I thought wasn't great was the Eternals, and that kind of upset me.
Yeah, you know what the problem is with those movies is that you have this whole different see, like Marvel always dealt with Earth's heroes, and then there was the mystical heroes, and then there were the space heroes. Yeah. You can't tell the Eternal story without telling the Galactus story, without telling the Silver Surfer story, without telling the Adam Warlock story. You can't do that. It's starting in the middle. It's the same thing. Now that's what makes the fact that Spider-Man rebooted a good thing, because Venom, his story was completely different. So to start a Venom movie before Spider-Man gets back to the MCU, it doesn't make any sense. And that's where a guy like me, who my knowledge of all of this stuff is from the comic books. So you can't have like the intergalactic storylines without telling the stories of the main characters, the Fantastic Four, the Kree-Skrull War that
it's
started
actually
the whole
completely different in
right. They reversed it. Yeah. So they have a lot of stories to tell that make everything else make sense. All the peripheral characters, you have to jam them in and give them some kind of role. Like we saw Daredevil, like his showing up in a Spider-Man flick. I mean, it's cool. It was absolutely cool to see him there.
Yeah, but it was completely useless.
Right.
You cut that scene out, honestly, it's nothing.
Cool movie.
Like, I don't know how you would. I mean, you only need it just to basically say Peter needs to go hiding and he's not in trouble anymore. That's the whole point of that scene. If you could find another way, you didn't need Matt Murdock. I was happy to see it. It was a cool cameo just to basically say, you know what? He is exactly who would help him if this actually happened. And now that we have all the characters, we can put them in there. So I was happy.
And I think that's Marvel's way of telling us that we're working on it. That's how I felt. Like I felt like getting those great characters. Like Daredevil's got like a 30-year run of just awesome books. And what's interesting is that Moon Knight, in all of his different manifestations, has a lot of the same villains as like a Daredevil or like the Defenders, like those street level baddies. Like they share a lot of the same history. They share a lot of the same.
I wonder if they're gonna put Moon Knight in New York ever, because I know originally in the comics he was in New York.
His home base is New York. Mark Spector's home base is New York.
Yeah. So, but he like actually. Gio mentions a good one here, man. Doctor Strange is gonna be fire. Yeah. It's gonna be fire. I think that movie, and I don't know if I'll like it as much as, but I just feel like the vibe of this show is giving me better vibes going into Doctor Strange. Like that's the kind of, it's gonna be dark mental shit. That's what I got thinking going on.
The multiverse. I think that those characters are necessary to future storylines. Like for instance, Doctor Strange is like the only guy right now that goes between dimensions and shit. So we're gonna need him to fuck up somehow, open up a door, bring all those other characters in somehow. Like you saw that the trailer for the new movie. There's a character, America
Chavez.
She's another one. She punches holes in dimensions.
So she does bringing all those characters holes. Yeah. I think that's how we're gonna. I wonder how they're really going to lead the rest of Phase 4 on, but I have a feeling Doctor Strange's ending is going to somehow blend in where we'll get, like, all of a sudden X-Men are on Earth, you know what I'm saying? Some shit like that. So I feel like having Moon Knight right now, this is the perfect leadway because I think, like, this show's kind of dark. getting the audience in that kind of vibe. And then the next thing they're going to see is Doctor Strange, which is going to be really dark and really crazy. I think there's a lot of crazy shit that's
they may have a
really
lead up
in that movie.
They may have a lead up from the show, like that trailer that was at the end of WandaVision, where they showed some of Doctor Strange's flick.
I think honestly, I think the only thing is that I think it is, because I think the Wednesday that Moon Knight drops its finale, the following Thursday, Doctor Strange comes out. I think it's literally like back-to-back nights.
Morbius just opened up. So,
no, don't even talk about that.
Dude, but it's genius marketing if it's true, and if they hold true to it. You've got Moon Knight, Morbius, and Doctor Strange all opening up within a segment of time, and they're all Midnight Suns. Ghost Rider's the only one missing, and I keep hearing stories about them sneaking them in somewhere.
Yeah, that would be interesting. Hell yeah, and maybe even in Doctor Strange, because there's a lot of people rumored to be showing up in Doctor Strange. So I mean, it would make sense. You got Moon Knight, right? There is a Morbius coming out, but Morbius they're not involved in. Here it looks bad because it's only got like a 17 rating on Rotten Tomatoes from the critics, and I mean critics, all right, but if it's 17, bro. 17 is pretty fucking bad.
I don't know. You talking about like some of those shows?
I don't trust Jared Leto either.
Some of those movies and some of these shows you have to watch just to tie the pieces together. Like Eternals. I wasn't a fan, but they open up doors to other things, and that's what the whole the MCU that these guys have created. And then Blade at the end. So I feel like you have to. Sometimes you got to suffer through them just to get the idea or to get the feeling for the next show or the next movie. It's
hell yeah, definitely. But I'll give Morbius a chance. I don't know if I can pay money to see it. I might have to find a way. I'm sorry, I didn't say it, but I might have to pirate it. I don't know if I can actually pay money for this shit. It looks really bad. I can't trust Jared Leto. He was the worst Joker I've ever seen, and I mean. He's been in a couple other movies I think were decent. I've always liked Requiem for a Dream, which he is the main character. But for me, I think 9 out of 10. That's a pretty solid start for a character. I honestly, until Kevin Feige on stage, I hardly thought about Mark Spector. I hardly knew about Mark Spector. I just knew Moon Knight was like their version of Batman. Kind of had the same look, but he's actually nothing like Batman.
No, absolutely not. Well, you know how the adage is that the Batman persona is who he is, and Bruce Wayne is kind of like
he's the cover,
his disguise. In this, they built a character and they spun it on its fucking head. So now, not only is the dude rich like a Batman, not only does he have all the toys like a Batman, but the dude has multiple personalities.
Yeah, he's one of the villains from Batman. That's what it is.
Basically, bro.
And Batman would be fighting.
Yeah, like the dude, like he's one of those dark heroes, and that's all that. Like Marvel has so many of them, and they can tie them in with other characters.
Oh yeah,
it's like this. That's what, and that's for me why I have to give it a 10, bro, because. It just the anticipation alone and knowing what could potentially be is it's lighting me up, man.
Oh yeah. All right, well let's end it on that, man. So you get 10 out of 10, I'm 9 out of 10. So we're definitely both still hyped for next week. Let's definitely try to get back together after we watch it on Wednesday and talk about episode 2 and keep deep. And Ed, I appreciate you joining me, man, on my chat here. And thank you, everybody, for watching. Leave a comment, hit the like button, and we check you next week. Eddie, see you on Sunday, baby. Let's go, Dutchman. Hell yeah, baby. All right, end it.